You've been there. You're sitting in a public restroom, feeling completely exposed, making awkward eye contact through a massive, totally unnecessary gap in the door. It feels like a ridiculous design flaw. Why on earth would anyone build a door that doesn't actually close off the room? But what if I told you that gap isn't a mistake at all? It wasn't done just to save a few pennies on cheap plastic or metal. That uncomfortable, highly exposing gap is actually a calculated piece of psychological and architectural engineering designed to secretly manipulate your behavior. Today, we are exposing the hidden system behind the public bathroom door and exactly why architects are absolutely terrified of giving you total privacy. The most common myth is that these gaps exist purely for economic reasons. People look at a stall and think that the company just wanted to shave a few inches off of the material to boost their profit margin. While it is true that a standardized floating piece of partition material is cheaper and easier to mass produce than a custom-fitted floor-to-ceiling door, cost is only a tiny fraction of the real story. If cost were the only factor, high-end luxury malls and expensive restaurants would offer full privacy, but they usually don't. That is because the gap serves a much more powerful invisible purpose: crowd control. Welcome to the concept of architectural behavioral manipulation. Have you ever noticed that you naturally spend way less time in a public restroom than you do in your own bathroom at home? That isn't an accident. Public restrooms are high-traffic environments, and the single biggest enemy of a high-traffic environment is a bottleneck. If people get too comfortable, they linger. They check their phones, they zone out, and lines begin to form out the door. Architects use the gap to intentionally strip away your comfort by leaving your feet exposed and allowing the sounds and smells of the room to easily travel. They create a subtle but constant psychological pressure cooker. Your brain subconsciously registers that you are in a public, vulnerable space. You feel the presence of others walking by. You lose the illusion of total isolation. This low-level anxiety triggers a hurry-up response in your nervous system. Without a word ever being spoken, the architecture itself forces you to do your business and leave as quickly as possible, ensuring a fast turnaround and preventing massive lines from forming. But it isn't just about moving crowds. It is fundamentally about liability and survival. Imagine a fully sealed floor-to-ceiling bathroom stall in a busy transit station. Now imagine someone inside having a severe medical emergency, a heart attack, a stroke, or fainting. In a fully enclosed room, that person could be lying on the floor for hours before anyone even realized they were in trouble. The gap is a critical safety mechanism. It allows a quick visual sweep of the room. If a pair of legs hasn't moved for 30 minutes, or if someone has collapsed, the gap provides immediate visual confirmation that something is wrong. Furthermore, if the door is locked from the inside and the person is unresponsive, first responders don't have to break down a heavy reinforced door. The gap allows someone to physically slide underneath to unlock the latch from the inside, saving precious, life-altering seconds. Then there is the dark side of complete privacy. When human beings are given absolute, guaranteed isolation in a public space, a certain percentage of the population will inevitably use it for illicit activities. Floor-to-ceiling doors turn public bathrooms into private havens for vandalism, drug use, and other illegal behaviors. The gap completely shatters that isolation. Because you can be seen from the shins down, and because anyone can easily peek through the side cracks, the perceived risk of getting caught skyrockets. It's a passive security system that dramatically cuts down on crime simply by removing the cover of darkness. Finally, we have to talk about the brutal reality of sanitation. Public restrooms are biohazard zones, and they need to be cleaned constantly and aggressively. If every stall went perfectly to the floor, janitorial staff would have to open every single door, step inside the cramped space, and individually mop each cubicle. The gap allows them to simply take a power washer, a massive mop, or a hose and sweep the entire floor in one rapid motion. Water doesn't pool, molds doesn't build up in the corners, and the cleaning time is cut in half. On top of that, it provides absolutely essential ventilation. Without the open space at the bottom and top of the stall, the air would completely stagnate. You would be trapping moisture, bacteria, and awful odors in a tiny, unventilated box. The gap allows the building's HVAC system to constantly pull fresh air under the door and cycle the bad air out. So the next time you are sitting in a stall, feeling that awkward draft and wishing for a fully solid door, just remember what's actually happening. You aren't the victim of cheap construction. You are sitting inside a highly engineered machine designed to keep you moving, keep you safe, keep the room clean, and keep you from getting too comfortable. The discomfort isn't a flaw in the system. The discomfort is the system.